This happened 3 summers ago, off the coast of North Carolina. I'm not given the exact location because I still fish there, and I don't want people turning it into some kind of attraction. It was supposed to be a normal overnight trip, just me and my older brother. We've been fishing offshore since we were teenagers, so being miles away from land at night never bothered us. The ocean gets quiet out there, not peaceful, it's just open. Around 1 a.m., the water was unusually calm, with no wind and barely any swell. We killed the engine to drift for a while, and that's when my brother noticed something pacing us under the boat. At first, I thought it was just a large shark. We've seen plenty, but this thing wasn't circling randomly. It stayed directly beneath us, matching our drift perfectly. I just grabbed the flashlight and leaned over the sea, and what I saw didn't make sense. The body was longer than the wing of a boat, but it wasn't shaped like any shark I've ever seen. It was smooth, no visible dorsal fin cut in the surface. But it didn't move like a fish. It moved slowly, deliberately, like it was conserving energy. Then it turned. Its body bent in a way that looked almost jointed, but not fluid like a whale, not rigid like a shark, somewhere in between. My brother said, "Start the engine." I didn't argue. The second the motor roared to life, the thing didn't scatter. It kept with us for almost like a full 2 minutes. It stayed just under the surface, right behind the prop wash, like it was drafting us. Then it sank straight down, not swimming away, just descending vertically into the black swallowed it. We checked the sonar afterward, and there was a return. One solid mass directly below us at a depth that didn't make sense for something that size to dive that fast. We didn't finish the trip. We headed back before sunrise, and neither of us brought it up again for months. But here's the part that still bothers me. When I review the GoPro footage later, I could see a pale shape under the boat for a few frames. For a split second, there was something like an eye facing upward. I used to work maintaining some private moorings in the Gulf. Most of the job was routine, checking hardcore chains, inspecting hull growth, clearing debris. But one afternoon I was about 40 feet down inspecting the buoy line. Visibility wasn't great, maybe 10 feet at best, and the water had that green heavy look to it. I remember feeling watched. That's not unusual underwater. Your senses play tricks on you. But this wasn't panic, it was awareness. I turned slowly, expecting to see another diver from one of the nearby boats. and there was a silhouette about 15 feet away. It was upright, not horizontal like a swimmer, vertical. At first, I thought maybe someone was free diving, but it wasn't moving. There was no bubbles, nothing kicks, it was just there, suspended. I blinked through my mask and adjusted my angle, and the shape wasn't wrong. The limbs were too long, and their proportions stretched, and the head, it looked slightly tilted, like it was studying me. And I signed with my hand, the hand gesture divers used to ask, like, "Are you okay?" And I had no response. It drifted closer, not swimming, just like gliding. And my chest felt tight. I checked my air gauge, and I had plenty left. There was no reason to panic. But every instinct told me to leave. As I started ascending, it didn't chase me. It stayed at the same depth, watching. And when I broke the surface, I climbed back onto the dock. I asked if anyone else had been diving, and they all said no. One of the older guys looked at me for a second too long and said, "You saw something, didn't you?" I just didn't know what to answer. I quit that job 6 months later. I still dive recreationally, but I don't go down alone anymore. This happened during a whale watching tour in Ireland. There were about 12 of us on a small boat, and we'd already seen a humpback earlier that morning. The guy caught the engine because he spotted movement, and we waited. The ocean was grey and flat, almost metallic looking. Then something surfaced about 20 feet from the boat. At first, I thought it was driftwood, but driftwood doesn't breathe. A large rounded shape broke the surface silently. There was no splash, no blowhole spray, just a smooth race. It stayed there for about 5 seconds, long enough for all of us to stare. The texture wasn't wrong, it wasn't verticaled like a well. It looked almost smooth but scattered, lined up with veined ridges running horizontally. Then part of it shifted. Not the whole body, just one direction, like overlapping plates adjusted. And the guide whispered, "That is not a whale." And no one laughed. Then something opened along its side. I don't know how else to describe it. It wasn't a mouth. It wasn't an eye. It was just an opening, dark inside. It was facing us. The boat rocked silently even though there was no wave. And then it sank. Not diving forward like a whale, just lowering straight down. We waited for it to resurface, but it didn't. When we got back to the shore, the guy told us not to mention it during the review session because people come here to see whales. I still have a photo. Just looks like a shadow on the water, but I know what I saw. I know it wasn't driftwood. I was in a cargo vessel crossing the Pacific, middle of nowhere, no land for hundreds of miles. Night watch is boring most of the time, just dark water and stars. Around 3 a.m., I noticed a glow beneath the surface of the port side. At first, I assumed phalluminescence. You can see that occasionally, streaks of blue light in the wake. But this wasn't striking, it was steady. 3 distinct lights in a triangular formation. They were deep, maybe like 30 or 40 feet down, moving parallel to the ship, matching our speed. That's when I realized how fast we were going. Those lights were keeping pace with a cargo vessel in open ocean. I called another crew member over, and he saw it too. We leaned over the rail in silence. The lines silently shifted positions, still triangular, but rotated slowly, like whatever was producing them was turning. And then they stopped. And all 3 shot straight downward, faster than anything I've ever seen underwater. The glow vanished in less than 2 seconds. No turbulence, no splash, nothing. We logged it as unidentified marine illumination. That is the official term. But unofficially, I've crossed the Pacific 8 times, and that's the only time I ever felt like something down there knew we were passing through.